7:05.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Took my tie off. He's choking me.
Choking you. Okay. Full board tonight? Yay. Okay, public comment. Is there anybody here for public comment?
Jeffrey Gerard, 33 Bungay Terrace. We had a problem when we brought my father-in-law to vote here for early voting. We could not get his wheelchair up over the curb out front. Is there anything that can be done to make it handicapped accessible by the handicapped entrance? If it wasn't for the gentleman that was here as a registrar that was outside taking a break, we would never have gotten inside. We couldn't get the wheelchair up over the curb. The curb is this high.
Oh, I was picturing, yeah, up front here, but the handicapped assessment is at the corner, so we can probably see if we can get, there should be one out front where the handicap door is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
Sure.
I mean, it was very, very difficult, and then the gentleman even came out and helped us take him off the curb when we left. So.
We have a staff meeting tomorrow, so I'll bring it up to Public Works.
Okay,
Thank you.
Hi, Kristen Harmelin, 134 Davis Road. I'm a member of the Board of Education, and I came here because I was really late to the party last year when I had some thoughts about the charter revision, and I didn't want to be late to the party this year when we're talking about budget. First thing I want to say is thank you to our first Selectwoman Dragonis for going up to the state capitol to talk about the need for the state to help fund our education at the local level. What brought me out here tonight, we could not wait, was I was absolutely horrified that I saw that the proposed funding for education for the town of Seymour, like almost every district in our state, is flat. That has never happened before. Flat. And we need help. We need your help. You guys are a little bit on the lucky side compared to the other boards and compared to the Board of Finance. You do kind of get to not be in the spotlight if you choose not to with the budget process. But I'm really asking you this year to have a voice. The community respects all of you. You were all voted in. And we really do need support, because here's what we're already hearing after putting out our initial budget. Last year the budget was cut $900,000 and the children were still educated. Okay. $81,000 going to special ed transportation, the rest going to teacher raises and health insurance. This is not about the students or educating them. As if it isn't a teacher that's needed in every single room, and as if teachers are not part of a bargaining unit that virtually guarantees them increases year over year and does guarantee them access to health insurance. This is the type of thing we really need your help with. You guys are steeped in contracts all the time. You see the contracts that come in, and we just have to have more voices talking about why it's truly a need of what the Board of Ed and various boards, if you so deem it a need, and if you don't deem it our needs, if you don't deem what's in our budget needs, come and talk to us. Come and talk to us. Another comment. Also, they can steal more money from the hardworking people. It's crazy how they use children as a cry for more money. It's an educational system, K-12, children. Principals are glorified secretary. The vast majority of our taxes goes to the school, and anything more than the inflation rate is unacceptable. These are just misinformed comments. I respect opinions. I don't think people should be able to make up their own facts. And I presented a chart last year when I was going over the budget in a community event, in a community forum rather, and I showed how, while yes, as an expenditure of the total budget, the school board does comprise about 60% of it, but when it comes to actually where our tax dollars go, it's much closer to 55-45% split, because we get the $10-11 million from the state. And I also showed a chart that I do have a copy of, and I can put it in for the minutes as well, of what happens when the state messes around with our funding levels like they're going to do this year. Every time there's an insufficient year-over-year increase from the state level, and by insufficient I mean something that doesn't even keep us on pace with inflation, the town has to make up more money. So every year that the state screws us over, quite frankly, hope I can say that, the town is left holding the bag. And it's just not possible for the school board to say, okay, this year we're getting $1 million less, or we're not keeping pace with inflation from the state, so let's just cut that off the Board of Ed bottom line. We're at bare minimum. People are going to start talking about how Ansonia eliminated 5 administrative positions. We don't have in Seymour any one of those 5 administrative positions. Either we never had them, or we haven't had them in years. So people are going to start, oh, our neighbor's doing that. We are bare bone, 12 administrators for 2,400 students across 4 different buildings. So again, thank you for speaking up on behalf of the town of Seymour, as well as our representative, Claritas Ditria, and just purely, please, I encourage you, if you have questions about our budget, if you don't understand it, if you don't agree with it, please come to a Board of Ed meeting so we can talk it out and really present a united front from all the elected officials in the town of Seymour. And this has been, it's online. This is from a presentation, as I mentioned, I gave last year. The only change I made was to label it, so it was clear that these were using last year's numbers, not current year numbers. And the line chart really just brings it to life, how when the state shirks its responsibilities, we're all left holding the bag. Thank you.
And Kristen, those were social media comments that you
Yes, those were
mentioned?
all
They're all
social media
Yes.
comments. All social media comments from groups that have between 6,000 and 8,000 members apiece. So these are not small groups of people that we're talking about.
Kristen, did you give a copy to Leanne so she could put it with the minutes?
I did.
Okay,
Yeah,
great,
I
thank
did.
you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome,
Thank
thank you. Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Public comment going one more time.
Okay, you have to
You
come up to the microphone.
Sorry. Okay. All right. Approval of the minutes from the February 3rd, 2026 regular meeting. Have a
So
motion?
moved.
Motion by Scott,
Second.
second by Bob. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 7-0. Appointments, do not believe there are any appointments this week. Thank you. Tax refund and abatements in your, you want this? Okay. In your packet, you'll see the tax refund and abatements from Christina Swanson, the Assistant Tax Collector. Please look it over, make sure there are no,
Make a motion to approve as presented.
motion by Trish,
Second.
second by Brianna. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Correspondence, in your packet, you'll see that, Brianna, you asked for the org chart. There's a copy of the org chart in your.
Yep, thank you.
Org chart. Okay. Last week, we discussed the discussion and possible action regarding the pay schedule for 2026. Apparently, we were supposed to take action on it and vote on it, and we did not. Can I have a motion on it?
Make a motion to approve the pay schedule for 2026.
Motion by Trish.
Second.
Second by, sorry, who was that? Bob, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nays? Chair votes aye, motion carries 7-0. Discussion and possible action regarding the tax abatement for qualified members from the Seymour Fire Department and the Seymour Ambulance Association. In your packet, you'll have its blue copies from Great Hill Hose and Citizens. We did not receive Seymour ambulances as of yet. Right?
That's what this is.
Oh,
Right here.
we did receive it, okay. When did that come in? I did not see that.
I just want to abstain from any discussion or votes, since I may be receiving a tax abatement as a firefighter.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to, for the tax abatements for the Seymour Fire and the Seymour Ambulance Association.
Motion by Bob Finley,
Second.
second by Trish Danka. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Noes? Abstentions? Please note. Chair votes aye, 6-0-1. Please note Scott Andrews' abstention. Thank you. Discussion and possible action regarding the potential for dispatch transition from the Seymour Police Department to Northwest Connecticut Public Safety Communication Center. Okay. So, this was brought up last week. Nope. 2 weeks ago, the chief of police and Fabiano, Deputy Chief Fabiano was here. They discussed this with the police commissioner. They brought it to our attention that they were thinking about moving the dispatching to Northwest Communications. Currently, it goes to the Seymour Police Department. When you dial 911, it goes to the Seymour Police Department, whether it's you need them for the ambulance, whether you need it for the fire department, whether you need it for the police department. Then the police officer taking the call that's at the station picks up the phone and they say, oh, you need fire, and they dispatch it to Northwest. If you need the ambulance, they dispatch it to Northwest. If you need the police department, then they take the call there. The Chief Buccarati says, you know, we can get $300 and some odd thousand. There's grant money. We can have it go to Northwest. They're still in officers, the commander's officers, sergeants. They're still at the police department, but by taking that guy out from behind that glass, he'll be on the road. Now, when you go into the police department now, you pick up the phone. You don't know if you're talking to the guy behind the black out window or if you're talking to the commander upstairs. So this board heard it. I read a lot of comments online. As we all know, I do not comment on fake profiles, and I do not comment on pages unless I'm specifically asked. It is up to this board. We can table it, or we can talk about it, or I can give you my opinion on it. And if anybody wants to hear my opinion on it, I will gladly give my opinion on it. Who would? Me? Okay, let me take you back to February 3rd, 2025. 7:30 a.m., a child walks into their house, starts arguing with their father. Father is drunk. She calls the police department. Police officer hears in the background the father threatening to kill himself, threatening to kill her, threatening to commit suicide, threatening to blow something up. Police officer's on the other end of the phone, doesn't dispatch a car. The mother comes out and says, calm down, calm down. Father calms down. Police officer is still not at the house. 5 minutes later, the father starts again. The mother says, can you stop? He then points a gun, looks at her directly in the eye, points a gun right at her, then shoots himself in the head. Police officer is still not at the house. The daughter calls 911, goes to the state police office. 911, how can I help you? My father just shot himself in the head. Can your mother or someone there perform CPR? He has a gun in his hand, sir. She cannot perform CPR. They then transfer it to the Seymour Police Department. 2 firefighters show up, off-duty ambulance officer shows up, then the police show up. Do I think our officers are trained to handle a situation like that? No. The next one that happens, there's a fire. It says, hold on, I have to transfer you to Northwest. Fire department gets there after the house is on fire. So do I think our officers are trained to handle? They're not trained to do that. They're trained to be police officers. Could we hire civilians to do it? Sure. Could we train our officers to do it? It would increase, but I'm not the professional in that field. I didn't go to school to become a police officer. I didn't go to school to become a 911 dispatcher. All I know is I saw my daughter's life disappear that night. That's my opinion on it, and that's why I did not comment online. So that's my opinion.
Didn't we ask the chief to bring back some information to us to help with clarification and stuff?
Yeah, through you, Madam First Selectman. I spent some time with Chief Buccarati breaking down the numbers, because that was a question I was asked by, I believe, 2 or 3 of the members, doing some type of analysis of what the cost would be. So at its simplest level, to go with Northwest Public Safety, we currently pay $121,344. The new price in total would be $462,753. which is an increase of $341,409. So that's the baseline that we would have. So we tried to look at this at different ways of how we cover those costs. So the first and easiest way to do it is if we had civilian dispatchers. So we used a local community that has civilian dispatchers, what their contract would be. So with an hourly rate, payment into MERS, Social Security, and Medicare, an estimate that it is a husband and wife plan. The cost is $124,898.74 per employee. We estimate that we would need 6 dispatchers at the minimum. So total cost $749,392.44, which is $407,983.44 above the cost of Northwest Public Safety. We then broke it down because we have current police officers who do the dispatching. We looked at what the cost would be of 3 probationary police officers, 3 level B, and then 3 level A. So a probationary police officer, again using the same estimates, or the same assumptions, excuse me, is $131,850.40. B is Patrol B is $138,827.55, and then Patrol A, which is the vast majority of our patrol division, is $150,857.02. So if you look at the difference between the cost of what we currently pay now to have 3 officers in 3 shifts covered, it's $452,571.06, not taking into account any need for overtime. Because as you know, we have staffing minimums. If we don't meet those minimums, we need to bring someone in to fill that. So this is just looking at straight salary. That is $111,162.06 more than Northwest Public Safety. So if you look at the numbers that way, it's actually cheaper to have Northwest Public Safety do the job as opposed to our, whether it be Patrol A, Patrol B, or even probationary. Probationary officers are only $54,142.30, but they're only probationary officers for basically 6 months.
Yeah, 12 weeks.
So the B and the A are a better example. And again, as I said, the vast majority of our patrol officers are A.
And so that's just doing that role, dispatching?
That's just simply dispatching.
Go ahead.
But they would get rolled off, like we would still incur some cost for them to get rolled off into patrol though, correct?
No, because the minimum doesn't change.
No.
Okay, so, well, I'm saying they would still be working patrol.
Correct.
Instead of dispatch.
Right. So to do that, so let's say it was the patrol off the A officers, where we would save the 111,000. We would now have the ability to put those officers on the street or into other roles within the police department. Perhaps be able to adjust the schedule to mitigate some of the overtime
Okay,
costs.
yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah.
Where's the cost savings?
Based
from?
on the current contract and the current schedule.
Yep.
Could a discussion be had that if we go to this dispatch center, that we would have the ability to potentially lower the minimum? I think an argument could be made for that, which in turn then you would see to that point, Selectman Gerard, the direct savings of that money, because we could back those positions out. Other issues that we have is, people aren't lining up to be police officers anymore. So Seymour, like many other communities, are struggling to bring police officers in. So we're having to sometimes take people off the street to make sure that they're in dispatch. They are not necessarily trained to be dispatchers. They are trained to be police officers. It's a very different skill set. What we have now is if someone calls 911 for the police station and it's a fire call, they have to say, hold on, I'll transfer you. So imagine that your house is on fire, you're calling 911, you're screaming and yelling, and you hear, let me transfer you. So, I mean, it's not the best thing for residents. And then the biggest issue, and just seeing what people are talking about and the concerns they have is what they'll call the dark station. If you go to our police station now and you go into the lobby, you go to a reflective glass. You cannot see on the other side. So you don't know if you're talking to a police officer that's sitting right there, if you're talking to a police officer that is upstairs. So even in this new setup with Northwest Public Safety, the response would be exactly the same. There would be a screen. You would talk to a person that is right in front of the screen. People have this illusion that if something is happening in the lobby, the police officer is coming out of the box and is addressing the situation in the lobby. They do not do that, because the second they do that, there's now no one answering the 911 line.
Right.
God forbid there is something that takes place, the police officer is incapacitated, we now have no one that would handle 911, no one that would be able to alert police officers. So even at night, in the current situation, if a resident were to come in and need services, the dispatcher is still calling someone in off the street. So even though it is Northwest Public Safety, the whole mechanics of how we run the operation is not really going to change. So there's not that concern with regards to that.
And to add to that, I did see in the many comments, I think there was 172, that, well, Northwest doesn't know Seymour as well as the Seymour Police Department. Well, when you call 911 and you dispatch for the fire department, that Northwest person doesn't know Seymour. They know that there's a fire at such and such address. You need to get the rescue, the engine, and whatever else out there. And is if there's a mass casualty incident in town, we need all our officers. So we would be pulling the dispatcher out, and we'd have to put maybe a sergeant in there, or maybe the deputy chief, but then we need the person for that incident out there. So there's a lot of looking at. Listen, I love Seymour because it's so small, and we know our police officers, and we want to keep it the same, and it's so hard to move forward. But in the same time, there are so many different things happening out in the world that we now have to protect for so many different reasons, and we have to be there. Who would have thought? We'll take Rhode Island. Who would have thought that going to a kid's hockey game, someone would have opened the gun and shot somebody at a hockey game? Who would have thought that? Not me. But the police have to go there. If there's a mass casualty here, we have to start looking at all the bad things in the world and how we can protect ourselves and how our police department has to protect ourselves. I'm not saying I'm for it, and I'm not saying that I'm against it. All I know is we have to start looking at how we can protect our town better and better utilize our resources. That's all I'm saying.
And just to follow up on some more of the dark station concerns, because that seems to be the biggest issue. I think the finances of this kind of speak for themselves. But again, nothing's going to change. So if a resident comes in at night, and that's basically when the concern is, if we have an extra body out on the street, that's more than likely going to mean that either the sergeant or the commander, or whoever is the officer in charge, will more than likely be in the building. So there will be a person there that, at worst case scenario, they would come downstairs. If a resident would be in distress and they were to come into the lobby right now, the first thing that the dispatcher that was in the station would do is they would look through, they would be able to communicate directly to the resident, and they would immediately call a car or two in depending on what was needed. Northwest Public Safety, the way that the lobby will be designed, and I don't want to talk about that in public because there's some safety concerns to that, it will be the exact same thing. The person at Northwest Public Safety will have the exact same view, the exact same response time as the dispatcher that we currently have. And again, police officers are not trained to come out of the box to go into the lobby. So it's, people are very concerned about that.
Well, there was a lot of misrepresentation online because somebody mentioned that the station would be dark 24/7.
It's not.
They didn't realize it was just going to be a certain period of time. So there was a lot of misinformation. So the clarity on the information is critical. And I think, right away everybody jumped on what is it going to cost us. And at the end of the day, if you're telling me that, really from what we do today and the change isn't that big of a number, because I didn't hear that being that big of a number change to go to Northwest. I mean, it's easy to make that decision to use them.
I mean, there is an increase just simply based on the way the contract is currently set.
Right.
but that does not mean that there's not going to be savings down the road as we move forward. The costs, what we'll call them the infrastructure costs, those are more than likely going to be covered by the state of Connecticut. You can't say 100%, but the state of Connecticut is pushing to have less PSAPs. They want more of this regionalization, this combining, so the state is coming forward, putting skin in the game, and covering the necessary infrastructure that needs to be done within the lobbies of these police departments.
One other question, it's kind of a weird question, but will the police department employees be upset that the dispatch role isn't still available to them from a overtime perspective, is there a problem there too?
I can't speak to that directly, but again, the minimum manning is not going to change. So we will still be required to have the same number of officers on shift, we'll call it. So those overtime opportunities will still present themselves, just as they have now.
Again, when
I can't
public
speak
asks me
to,
questions, those are the things that come up.
yeah.
I was asked similar, and I know Chief Buccarati had mentioned that, I said, well, there's a lot of speeding going around in town, there's a lot of people blowing stop signs, there's a lot of people calling and ringing doorbells and running, there's a lot of solicitors out. He says, well, we can make some sort of a task force that can go out and we can have station for the speeding, we can station for the,
We're always hearing about speeding on
we're always
different
hearing
roads,
about
right?
speeding,
Yep,
right?
and blowing
Blowing
stop signs too, it's
blowing
become a
stop
thing.
signs.
Everywhere,
So he
not
says
just
that
Seymour.
they could put a task force for that. But the thing is how much is this really going to add, the bottom line, to the taxes for the residents? I mean, because they can only swallow so much, and ECS, let's not even get me going on the flat budget for the past, since 2013 from the state of Connecticut.
Yeah, the first increase, if you look at this going live in March of '27, because we'll take about 12 months or so, give or take, the cost is $113,803.
Okay.
That's the initial cost,
$113,803.
$803.
Oh, 114.
So how does that affect the budget? Let's go that way.
0.01%. So figure a $70 million budget, it's 100,000, so 1%, give or take.
And then after that, it increases it by the 300.
It will jump up to the, correct. But again, you already have a third of that $300,000 increase built into the budget, so at that point,
It's
Couple
only-
hundred
it's
thousand.
the- it's
Correct.
the- it's the increase.
And we're also getting a stipend from the state, right, a grant.
well,
But that's one time.
right now, yeah, it's
No,
one
it's
time on, infrastructure, but that
Right.
doesn't mean that the state doesn't at some point say, hey, we really want to help push more towns, and they start sending some money to defray costs for the recurring expenses. That could happen, but I don't know. That's
One of the other,
What do you say, .01, you said?
point zero, yeah.
For the 27 budget,
1%.
right?
just one other question, and the chief had offered a third option of paying to train officers.
Yeah.
Do you have that cost?
Yeah, by our best estimates, that's going to be just under $100,000.
And is that an
Yearly?
ongoing
Yeah,
cost,
is it
or is that
annually? Is it-
just?
It's going to be
Periodic.
reoccurring, but it's not annually
Right.
reoccurring.
Just as need comes up.
Yeah, it's every couple of
So
years.
that-
They have
that
to qualify
100,000
for
hit us
different
every
things.
couple of years, or if we have to get somebody new.
Correct.
Somebody new has to take the training, I'm assuming. right?
And the way that police officers roll over, I
Right.
think it's going to be more than likely we're going to be having big chunks of training for dispatch each year. Just because, I mean, we do have several officers that are at the ability to retire. So what they'll do, you
Are
know,
all those guys that are doing dispatch taking this training? It's mandatory, correct? So
they'll make it
we've been
mandatory, yeah.
paying that already?
No, they haven't. When
been
Chief
trained.
So
Buccarati
we've
came
never
in.
been trained from a
To
dispatch?
that level, no.
Okay.
Well, there was a point in time where they were trained.
They were trained.
Yeah.
And then,
I don't know when that stopped.
right, when Chief, I guess it
It was
was.
before his time.
Before his time is when it stopped, and when he came in, he found out that they weren't being trained, and he started taking a look at it, and then he said, the state did say something to him, and when they said, well, we're gonna look at going to Northwest, that's when the state said, we'll give you a certain amount of time before we
Yeah,
come
so
at
that,
you.
is that training so is that
That's
training
mandatory
Yeah.
Okay.
training.
Yeah. So that, those costs weren't even in our numbers at the end of the day?
And that's just a flat rate to train the entire anyone who's gonna dispatch the 100,000?
Yeah, it's an estimate of cost for classes and then overtime because you need to backfill. So I'm sending you to the training. I need to now backfill your spot with overtime.
How many, the $100,000, how many are we getting trained out of that?
That would train all the officers.
Everyone, okay.
Yeah, I just want to be clear on that too.
All patrol,
Was
all the
that
patrol.
All the
All the
patrol.
patrol
All
officers.
patrol.
Right.
Correct.
And how many patrol officers do we have?
27?
23?
At least 27.
27.
27, 9, 35, 6, 20, 24. 24. Because we have 41 total. Yeah, 24. Yeah.
So basically, when we go out and people are gonna ask questions and people are gonna have opinions, we need two things. We need a full report and be able to understand financial benefits and costs and the value of what we're getting for doing this. I can tell you in my experience where I worked, utilizing civilian dispatch is a complete disaster. Seymour is not getting smaller, it's growing, so the addition of bodies, availability to do different tasks is going to be a plus, whether we utilize them out of dispatch. Central Command has benefits for connecting with mutual aid on big events. The speed in which a call is done and looked at and criticized is inherent in Northeast because they check their people and the response times and how they work and how they do their thing constantly. So we're getting the cream of the crop. We're always getting the best service and the best value. Those are the things that we got to be able to talk about. Again, I would think that if we could see something in writing as far as the costs and the three different options and that we have at least a beginning of a talking base to go forward and answer the questions of the people.
I think even more so, we have to have it on our, if we're gonna do something like this, we have to have a clear direction of why we did it and on our website as
Yes,
an FAQ or something.
absolutely.
So they know.
Right, and I think that a report looking at all the pros and cons on both sides, the financial side and the benefits that we gain, would be beneficial and as we talk and put it forward.
Just to chime in, I think it was Brianna and I that really asked for something in writing so we could understand what the options were, what the costs were, but not just for us as
residents.
select people, but for our residents to fully understand what we're getting into and why we need it.
You did.
And what the cost would be, right?
Yeah.
So Kurt, I appreciate you talking to the chief and bringing back this data tonight. It's been pretty enlightening. And, but I think it's best to have something like that, just to make sure, like I was saying, an FAQ, some kind of report, something people can look at and read and probably answer 90 to 95% of their questions.
Right.
And if they have more, they can come here.
Because there's a ton of information.
Yeah.
I know,
right now.
I know. There's a lot of that out there.
Agree. Question, and new here still, so. Have we thought about, maybe doing some sort of, I know this would normally be the forum, but we don't get a lot of people. Obviously, it's a hot topic on social media right now. Can we do some sort of like town hall where we can answer questions so we can put people's mind at ease?
Great
Because
idea.
I think initially when I had heard it, I was, a little uneasy about it. But the more information that I got from the chief and from Northwest, I think helped me kind of understand exactly
Yeah.
the mechanisms that they're going to be using and
Did you go up, Brianna?
not, to,
I
no, I
think
mean,
some-
just from them coming in. I know that we had talked about going out.
Well, it was
Yeah, I
offered
was
to us.
going-
Yeah.
I don't-
Yeah,
I'm
no, but,
not
I
talking
think,
about
I think
doing-
something
yeah.
along those lines and allowing people to ask the questions that we've
Right, I think
obviously heard may be a good way to get buy-in.
And am I mistaken, but I think when Northwest was here, he did mention that he'd be willing to discuss like whatever contract like issues that we have. So are they willing to extend their lock-in price longer or like what are the things that they're willing to adjust?
Or is that something that we usually give authority to the first select woman council to negotiate? and then go forward based on their job duties or you being involved, or whoever is involved in negotiating that deal. I understand what Trish is saying.
Yep.
We can always put our 2 cents in, and I think that's a good idea. But isn't that something that's usually handed off to the town
But
people
we're talking
who are
about being
working
able to
there?
explain the expenses
Right.
and what
No,
we
I
have
get
done
it,
to the
Trish.
residences.
I get it. What I'm
so-
saying is, I don't think we should get into that in a public forum with them.
I mean, I know, to that point, they did say that they would, first of all, Northwest Public Safety, and Scott, I think you can concur, I think their pricing has been very consistent over the years, where you haven't seen very big spikes.
That's what he,
Yeah,
related
it seems
to.
to have been
That's what he
very
said.
consistent
Yeah.
over the years. He did say that they would be very amenable to keeping prices as level as they possibly could if we were to enter into a 3 or a 5 year contract, something that we can certainly have more control over. We currently pay $27, or the cost would be $27 per resident, is what he
he
quoted.
said that, yeah.
I'll tell you this, the increase in salaries, or the cost for Patrol A, is going to grow substantially over the next couple of years. Much more so than anything at Northwest Public Safety would, because you're gonna have increases to the hourly rates of the employees, you're gonna have increases to insurance costs, and the big bomb that sits there is MERS. For every dollar that we pay to a police officer, we pay 27 cents into their pension, and that number's only growing. So, again, by shifting some of this cost off to an outside entity, we're now defraying some of these legacy liabilities that we could potentially have if we're able to get some changes to the contract. And again, it could simply be by changes, it could be we're going to have, we were able to bring back another SRO. We're able to bring the community police officer back.
Oh, I
We're
think
able
we-
to
I
set
think
up
that's a
special
must, in
task
my opinion.
forces.
Yeah.
So now we're
Yep.
spending this extra 113,000, but we're spending the 113,000 to have more direct impact to the residents.
Yep.
What about, if we do choose to get some kind of a comprehensive report from Kurt or whoever, could we maybe reach out to some other similar sized towns that are using, Northwest and see what their opinion is? Maybe you could just add a couple of blurbs about that. It's just a phone call.
I think it's just Waterbury and Middlebury, right?
No.
No,
No,
there's more.
There's a few, yeah.
There's more, there's a lot more that use that. But to be honest, point, I think a town hall would be sorry, Phil.
Good.
I think a town hall would be a good thing, because then they're asking, the residents are having the opportunity to ask the chief and to clarify the misconceptions that are out there, or the misguidance that is out there, or the misinformation that may be out there.
I think we're seeing that a lot, and
Oh,
it,
yeah.
I think it may help kind of put people at ease.
A two-part question, I think. Last month, we authorized the signing of a letter of intent with Northwest, which would start the process. We did. We made a motion to enter the letter of intent to start that process. So where does that stand, and what action are we looking to do tonight?
I did not sign a letter of intent.
Yeah, we haven't taken that step yet, because again, there's so much uncertainty
Yeah.
that unless the 7 of you feel comfortable that we should really push forward, we certainly don't want to waste Northwest Public Safety's time. We don't want to incur legal fees that we don't need to, waste Chief Buccarati's time. But we could start that, we could make that call tomorrow and get
Well,
specific
he
numbers.
said it was a non-binding letter
Right.
to enter into, and that's why we made the motion last meeting to sign that, just to get the ball rolling, so that we're not delaying, because I think there's some time constraints that they were looking at going into next year.
Yeah, the time constraints are on the build-out
Yeah.
and getting that done in time, but March gives them enough time frame.
So,
But because of the uncertainty and is this really what we want to do, and hearing what everybody is saying, I didn't do the letter of intent. I
Is there any
apologize.
time constraints on the money from the state for the infrastructure work?
No, and speaking with Chief Buccarati, what it looks like is we pay for the upgrades, and then the state reimburses us when we're done.
Like most grants.
So, what do we do now? Should I make a motion to ask for a comprehensive report, and then,
But not in that way.
we're not at that point?
No, I think that's what Brianna and I were talking about. I think we need something.
Yeah, that's what I just asked for
So,
like 2 minutes ago.
Why don't I take my report?
Yeah.
And I can put it into a frequently asked question type of draft that I can send out to the 7 of you to look at. And then you can make comments on that, and then we could determine when would be the best time to hold a town hall, for lack of a better term. If you want to do it, on March 3rd before this meeting, maybe you don't have the ordinance committee meeting that night, and you say at 6 o'clock, we're going to do a town hall. You could do it that quickly. You could do it on a separate night all by itself. We would just have to have a spot to do it because we're in budget season, so a lot of the rooms
Sounds
are
good to me.
filled, and I'm sure we'd want to have it live streamed. So we just want
Yes.
to make sure we have the capability to do so.
And the ability to take questions and answer.
The only other question I would like answered, and Kurt alluded to it, is what would the chief do with the bodies we would be saving from having to do dispatch, our patrolmen? What would his plan be to put them into action? What would he be thinking about doing and utilizing those human resources?
Well, Anne Marie just touched on that a couple minutes
Yeah.
ago.
He touched on that when he was here. He said he would create a task force for either speeding, for more monitoring,
Some of the,
traffic.
I think that'd be helpful though.
I think he alluded to it, but I would like to
Yeah.
know have it a
So,
little more
yeah,
fleshed out.
yeah.
That's all. If he could.
But
If
the
he can,
biggest-
he may not be able to.
but the biggest thing is those individuals that are not sitting at a desk are going to be plugged into holes where you need overtime for mandatory training and things like that. You take a person off the line, now you got bodies to backfill that, not at overtime, at regular time. So there's a big
That's
plus right
correct.
there,
That's
Right?
correct. Potentially, yes,
potentially.
absolutely. Things like shooting and things like that.
Shooting.
Yeah, they should go up to the range and they shoot.
Qualify,
Qualify, yeah. Sorry. Bad choice of words, apologize.
What are they shooting at?
Not a gun guy. So, all right, so if just to make sure I have my notes correctly, I'll put together a FAQ that covers both financial and operational. I'll ask the chief to make comment on what he potentially would foresee being done with the extra manpower that is available. I'll get that draft out to all of you in the next couple days,
Yes, please.
once that's ready to go. And then we'll work on a time for some type of town hall meeting in and around the next meeting. Does that work?
I think we do it March 3rd. We do it at 6 o'clock.
Make sure Chief Bucaraty is available.
Oh, yeah, let's check
Yeah.
with Chief
And-
Bucaraty.
I'll confirm all that.
Yeah.
The chief may want to have someone from
Northwest.
Northwest again.
Yeah, agree.
Just one more question.
Sure.
If we vote to move this forward to Northwest, and that's a 113,000 for the first portion of a year, does that mean that it has to go and the Board of Finance has to fund that from somewhere?
It's funded through the communication budget.
Okay, but I'm just saying they have to fund that if we move it forward.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Because it's in the budget.
So you're
It would
saying
be-
you
it would be in
gotta
the
figure
budget.
it out.
Right, that's
Or to put it-
basically what I'm
yeah.
Where they-
asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good question, yeah.
And just from, the chief presented to the Board of Finance as well. The Board of Finance seemed very favorable of the costs associated with it. They don't get into what you folks are dealing with, other stuff. They just look simply at the costs, and for them, that they were comfortable with
They
the
thought
cost.
it was palatable, yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for doing this, for putting this together, because like Brianna, I had some real apprehension at first from what I was hearing from the public and just myself. Not that I didn't believe what I was hearing, I just needed more data. So I appreciate what was done tonight, and I look forward to reading those reports from the chief and FAQ from you, Kurt, whatever you guys can put together.
Yeah, we'll try to have a draft by the end of the week for everybody to take a look at.
Great.
So, do we want to make a motion to sign, well, we already made the motion for the letter to sign. Thanks, Scotty.
Anytime.
By signing that intent, I want to make it known that by signing that intent does not mean that we are going with Northwest, or that we are doing that. This is just getting further information on it.
And we made sure we had Attorney Leclerc's input on that. He agreed, and I know Attorney Paterno's here too, so he's hearing that. And I know they've done probably 1 billion of these, so I think we're okay.
And we will not move forward with this
Nothing
until,
binding in it.
right, we will not move forward with this until we have the town hall, until we have the Q&A. So that will not be moving forward. All right. Okay. Discussion and possible action regarding the potential program for fleet. Nope. Yep. Hold on. Yep. Discussion and possible action regarding the potential program for a fleet replacement for the Seymour Police Department. We are tabling that. Can I have a motion to table that, please?
Motion to table is
Second.
fleet replacement.
We are tabling it because we need more information, just on, would we actually get the money back that is due to, for the actual cars? Because remember, we're taking these cars aren't ours. You know, normally when we buy a police car, we outfit the police car, we take the car, we put the car into this, we put the car in for a private duty, you put the car to go to a scene. But now we have to take the car, disassemble the car. By disassembling it, take the light bars off, take the crash bar off. There's cost to that, and now we're giving a car back that has holes in it. Are we gonna get the true and accurate value back? So I wanna make sure that we're gonna get that.
That wasn't
thought
part
that-
of the national assessment,
I don't know.
or the, I'm sorry, it's the national.
How did this come up?
I
Enterprise.
thought he addressed that.
Yeah.
I don't recall him addressing
No,
that.
not the, I don't think the specifics
Not that
to.
specific.
Well,
I
I was
agree.
under the impression that he addressed to the point where Mr. Buccarati's request for the car to be fitted as is way as is, that they would budget it in, and that at any time, because it's open-ended, that we were going to release
She's
the
talking
car.
about the
That
sell.
wasn't,
She's
When
talking
we,
about
we
this-
sell it
the
back
other
to them,
side.
when we give
that's
it
what I'm
back to
talking
them.
about,
Yeah.
release the car.
I
That
don't know.
wasn't, I could have sworn he said it, I may be wrong.
I feel more comfortable having everything ticked and
Yeah.
tied, because I have a lot of questions
I don't know,
about,
you know, because they gotta take that
Yeah.
off of it.
Yeah, but you're right, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Can we ask, maybe, is there any way to say to the Board of Finance for time frame, to look at the numbers so that, because I'm not a finance person, and they could maybe give us a kind of a guideline of what, apples to apples on cost.
This isn't the cost from the Board of Finance, this is the cost from the fleet dealership.
I understand that,
I just
but-
wanna make sure what the fleet dealership, remember that, again, I'm not poo-pooing them, and I'm not poo-pooing the idea, I just wanna make sure if they're saying, oh yeah, you're gonna get 80%
Right,
back.
right, that we
And then
do.
when we go to trade the car in, they're like, oh, but you got holes in it, so you're no longer gonna get that value back because we now have to take that where you had the council, and we now have to put the radio back, and, you know what I
would have
mean?
thought that number took that into consideration, but I'm surprised now that I've probably look at it, because I'm not surprised you're saying that.
Bob, don't assume, right?
Yep, you're right.
Yeah, we got some late information
Yeah.
that number may not be this time.
Firm,
Okay.
yeah,
And we'd rather
No, I'd
spend a
rather
little time
run-
just double
run
checking.
through it.
yeah,
Yep.
do our due diligence.
Yeah, Emery's made a bunch of calls, so we
And-
just wanna,
Nice.
I know,
make sure we have that
the
correct.
finance director had an analysis. I don't think that was included in the packet.
No, because the numbers are, the analysis is built on what we got from them.
Yep,
If the resale number is not correct, then it's
makes sense. Yeah,
Throws it all
I was
off, right?
anticipating seeing it in the packet and did
Yeah.
not, so,
Throws it off,
if
yeah.
we didn't get that information that Anne Marie uncovered, that the resale numbers may not be correct,
100%.
you would have seen it, and you probably would have been voting on moving forward tonight with the
Agree.
program.
I would not make a good
know,
copy.
but-
so when we get that information, you can
Was I
send
not?
out the.
Once we're able to tighten up the
Whatever that is.
resale,
Yep.
How
yes.
is this
Okay.
even?
Yeah.
You did,
I
Thank
did.
you.
Oh, you're welcome.
You did.
I don't buy it.
and you put
Okay.
it in
we
Emery's
did
head,
that.
obviously, and she checked it out.
Discussion and possible action regarding potential NRES, all solar project with Johnson Controls.
No, no.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Anthony Marciano, Development Manager representing Johnson Controls in the potential solar project that we're looking to discuss. I believe you should have a presentation in front of you. Print it out.
Sorry. I have to,
Competing noise.
In your packet, you'll have the,
Yeah, so there should be 2 documents, a PowerPoint presentation that we can walk through, detailing the scope
Yes, sir.
along with a memorandum of understanding, in order to proceed and do some additional due diligence, with regards to the solar potential project.
keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Next one.
Keep going. There it is. You may. I know you don't like
Stand
it.
on her head?
There you go.
So when you're ready to move in, just say move.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna try and keep it quick here.
Thank
Obviously
you.
want to address and answer any questions that you potentially may have. The NRES program, non-residential, energy program, through Eversource. Effectively, what we would look to do is to target solar deployment at schools. Eversource currently has a K through 12 program, as part of their year 5 solicitation that has 40 megawatts of capacity within their utility territory. We've proposed and put together some preliminary helioscopes, dictating where potential panel layouts would work at 4 of the Seymour schools. We'd look to kind of walk through that today. All the power would be exported to the grid, and Eversource would provide a quarterly payment for the solar that's being produced and put onto the grid, valued at between 23 and 24 cents for rooftop mount solar, and just over 30 cents per kilowatt hour for any carport solar. So just taking a high level look, we've got a mix of ground mount and carport solar as part of the initial design, and looking to provide some additional discussion and input from the board as part of potentially moving forward, doing some due diligence to get to a point where we can capture the financial benefits of the system. Starting at Seymour High School, we would look at a canopy system of 676 kilowatts and a ground mount system of 832 distinct separate systems, looking to leverage the benefit that Eversource would provide there. You can see it a little bit better in your packet, I'm sure, versus the screen. Seymour High School, there's your ground mount, just to the side of the football field, as shown in that.
Yeah, this side of this ground mount, we'd
So the ground-
we'd have to cut the trees.
No, that's there's no trees there, right? Is that that's the
Yeah.
trees.
There are trees there.
The second, yeah.
That's
Oh, this
between
one,
the,
I'm sorry, not that one, this one.
mosque
Yeah, that's all wooded area. That's a buffer.
Yeah, I was looking at the first picture too.
behind the church.
That's where I was looking.
Wait, that's, oh, by the church. Great Hill House. Or, no,
Good shepherd.
Good Shepherd, thank you.
Yes, yeah.
Between there and
Okay.
yeah, and you said this all goes back to the grid, nothing goes to the buildings, it's.
Nothing goes
On the
directly to the
property.
buildings, it would go directly to the grid, and Seymour would receive a financial payment from the utility.
Okay.
No problem. Is that the spot that they would have to go?
There's some flexibility associated with where the panels can be located. And we'll get to some of the financials, I guess, towards the end. But
Okay.
there's maneuverability. I would say in general that the more solar that can be deployed, the more financially advantageous it is for the town of Seymour.
Now, that's their equipment, they own it.
Or how does this work?
Yeah, so as we sit right now, it would be owned by Seymour, operated by Seymour, maintained by Johnson Controls through a O&M agreement, in order to ensure that, one, it continues to operate, because that's the revenue wheel. But two, the ownership for Seymour allows you to take advantage of some of the state grants that are available through the non-priority program.
Yeah, but then in 10 years, when they're depleted and they're not running the same, we're gonna be responsible to replace them.
Yeah, depending on the O&M agreement, we can address that.
If the power goes to the grid, why do they have to be at schools?
based off of the Eversource programmatic requirements, it's a carve out specifically for K through 12 parcels.
K to 12 high schools.
The program's based on schools.
Yeah,
But
deploying
it's-
solar at schools across the state of Connecticut.
And when the system is not working,
Yeah.
how is that reported in?
How is that reported in from Eversource? So as part of
Or Johnson Controls,
Yeah,
isn't somebody supposed to be monitoring?
correct, so I don't want to skip ahead here. We can get to the financials.
Okay.
But effectively, we've carried costs for
I can hold my question.
continued monitoring of the system to ensure that it's not down for an extensive period of time and not operating.
You may answer this later, but the state of Connecticut, or Eversource can change what that rate is to paying out per kilowatt hour, right?
No, it's a
They
fixed
can't.
contract for 20 years.
20 years.
Yes.
And when's that 20 years up?
Basically 20 years after the system.
So
is
whenever we
contracted.
sign, so it's a 20 contract with us for 20 years.
Yes.
Got it.
Directly from the utility at a fixed rate for kilowatt hour for that full 20 years. Looking at some other layouts, canopy at the middle school, protected parking, over a number of the different parking lots here, adding up to 1.27 megawatts of solar panels across all of the parking lots.
Doesn't look like you're cutting any trees down over there.
No, correct, that's all parking lot canopy based, mounted at 12, 14 feet in order to accommodate for plowing and snow removal.
Okay.
Bungay,
Bungie. Sorry.
1.5 megawatts of ground mount solar, again depicted in an area that's currently wooded that would need to be cut down in order to accommodate the solar panels.
Will you be responsible for that, Tom? Be responsible for the clearings?
Johnson Controls would include that as
You
part of
guys
the
would
project.
clear.
Now, would this be affected at all with the new school?
It would.
Yeah, that's just a depiction of the way Bungie currently sits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It would
So-
be, once the final design is done,
right.
at that point, because in the field now would be where the parking lot is.
Mhm.
What he's showing in that lower corner is actually will be field.
So this will change.
This will change.
Yeah,
But it's
that
just
was
to
my,
give you an idea of
Yep.
the layout and the ground mount specs.
could we potentially also though be able to then do carport
Yes.
with it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I have that at the end, which get into that. So for Chatfield and Presti, we're looking at a canopy of 480 kW. Again, parking lot solar elevated to provide protected parking, maximize the solar. If we go to the next slide, it's also going to dictate the ground mount array that we're, at least at this point, potentially considering. Next,
We're not cutting down the trees to put in that. We weren't cutting, Kurt. We said that we
Yeah,
weren't.
no, this is just put in there for just discussion purposes. That's
Okay.
all. But this was one, this is one that was identified initially of concern because of the proximity to the houses.
Yeah.
So, but again, it was just because there's new board members to let them see the full package. Yeah.
Okay.
So effectively, all of that potential solar put together provides financial benefit to Seymour, potential benefit. We're anticipating a cost of all of those arrays, again, collectively, not with any potential changes here, in the order of magnitude of $30 million cost to install. The financials based off of what you would receive from state grants along with Eversource provide a ability to capture $5 million of immediate cash for the town of Seymour to use in any other type of capacity, along with an annual positive cash flow of over $500,000 for the next 20 years. $500,000 per year. Additionally, depending on how quickly we can mobilize and move, there is still a potential to obtain federal direct pay subsidy from the government with regards to the investment tax credit. That would be valued at roughly $7 to $8 million. That's the yellow box that's shown in that column, potentially year 2. That's not captured right now within the indicative pro forma. So with the $5 million today, $500,000 per year for 20 years, along with another potential of $7 to $8 million of investment tax credit direct pay subsidy from the federal government, there's a lot of financial positivity associated with deploying, as I mentioned, as much solar as possible, where it's sensible for the town of Seymour, but also needing to move quickly to obtain those funds with the programs that are currently available and with the utility program that is currently open for enrollment for the K through 12 solar.
Yeah, I just want to set I'm not saying it's bad or good, I just want to set the number that, you know, when we think about this, you're still going to have to put money away, because in that 20-year time frame, at the end, all those planos are getting replaced, so whatever that maintenance cost, whatever that's going to be, has to be factored into these numbers,
Yeah.
so that you're not going to take all that money and just start spending it. It's
Right.
going to be,
We're gonna have to put in an annuity of some kind to let it build and.
you'll get some out of it, maybe
Yeah.
you get half of it, so the numbers, I mean, I'm off the top of my head, I don't know what it is yet, but
Yeah.
you're only going to get a percentage that we'd be able to use in town.
Thank you, Mr. Finley.
You said that the cost to build this is $30 million?
Order of magnitude, yes.
Okay. And we're gonna reap $500,000 a year for
You-
20 years?
You will reap $500,000 a year on top of the existing cost of payment, along with a one-time $5 million upfront, I don't want to use the word windfall, but additional capture of funds.
So what is the payment that we would get?
Effectively, just looking at the net savings column that you would receive from the utility, it starts out about $2 million per year and decreases slightly just based off the degradation of the solar panels over time. The payment made based off of the $30 million that would be borrowed would be roughly $1.5 million in order to pay off the initial upfront cost year over year, leaving $500,000 of net positive cash flow out of that $2 million of benefits received per year.
I'm waiting.
Anthony, can you just talk about, to make it clear, the reimbursement because it's at a school at the 66%?
Correct. So similar to the requirement with the utility for this program to be located at schools, because the solar would be located at schools, it also qualifies for a non-priority state aid reimbursement through the Office of School Grants and Construction.
So let's talk about that for a second. What does that mean? Because that's the answer to the question I asked before, why the schools, right?
But that's another part of the puzzle, yes. So because it's located at schools and because solar qualifies as a non-priority reimbursable asset with regards to the state DAS team, Seymour qualifies for 66.8% reimbursement of the total cost of the solar project. So roughly, if we just using round numbers, $30 million project cost would result in a $20 million state aid reimbursement through the Office of School Grants.
Because they're at schools.
Because it's at schools.
Does that come as a one-time payment back to us, or is that
It's split
over
as a
20 years?
percentage of project completion, but generally speaking, it comes within the first year in its entirety after the project is complete.
Okay.
And that's depicted in the other column as part of that
To the left,
pro forma. $20 million.
project summary, right?
So when when Johnson Controls first came before us, my understanding was when there was not a connection or not a savings, Johnson Controls made up that difference. where are those kinds of reports from when that started? And I'm gonna explain why. Small town, I'm not gonna get into specifics right now. But it is well known that one of the locations, the connection between panels and the system Johnson Controls was monitoring wasn't even, it kept disconnecting and not working. And I've never heard one thing back from Johnson Controls saying that this wasn't connected, so there was no savings and nothing's being done. So let's,
So, I believe that project was started around 2018, 2019, if I'm not mistaken. Substantially built and completed. I'm just going to use rough timeline estimates, 2020, 2021 timeframe. As part of that agreement, Johnson Controls carried 3 years of measurement verification services, at which case that portion of the contract terminated, and Johnson Controls no longer provided that monitoring as part of the contract beyond the 3 years of initial validation and verification. So I don't know the specifics around the timing on when some of the issues occurred, but I do know that Johnson Controls is no longer contracted to provide validation verification of the savings from that initial project.
fair enough.
With this project, because of the size and because of the potential that it provides from a financial standpoint, we've included the full 20 years of term to ensure that we've got continued eyes on the system should there be an issue that arises, whether it's 3 years from now or 17 years from now.
I could be wrong, but I'm just, honestly, I don't recall it being called out during that initial presentation that we're only gonna be doing this for 3 years, because it's an awful, even at the initial phase, when it began, it's an awful lot of money to spend to then say, we're going to do this for 3 years to prove to you it's worth it, and after that, you're on your own, because we don't have anybody that's able to monitor those systems, properly to report back if there's truly a savings being had for me personally to then go ahead and be willing to spend so much more on a similar type project. I hope that makes sense.
It does. That makes perfect sense. And I don't have all the answers today, but I can certainly take it back to my team at Johnson Controls and see if there's any additional due diligence or support that we can provide as part of the initial project.
Kurt?
Yeah, and through you, Madam First Selectwoman, that was more of a Seymour issue than a Johnson Controls issue. We had the 3-year setup, as Anthony had mentioned. When that ended, we'll just call it a staff issue. It was not being monitored as it should have been. That's been corrected. So now it's actively monitored. And that's why now for this programs like this going forward, we're going to have the full 20-year coverage as a part of that. So that's not a Johnson Controls issue. That's a local issue. And again, very different setup with the old solar, because that goes to power specific buildings. So the solar itself goes and it powers Bungay School, it powers the high school. The town municipal side pays the debt service, so there wasn't that necessary connection and there wasn't that communication. Not that there wasn't communication, they just weren't talking to each other specifically about that. This is very different because the energy is going to be produced and it's going to be sold directly off-site to Eversource, so everything will be much more
But are we
transparent.
monitoring by location?
Yes.
Correct. I mean, it was a lesson learned.
I want to know if one location is not working and providing the savings as it should.
Yeah, each array will have a standalone, basically API gateway that would be monitored remotely by Johnson Controls utilizing solar tracking software.
Which we can see as well, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. But now Tony and Sal monitor the solar arrays now, so.
So the existing panels that we currently have, are those being replaced
No.
with new?
No, the existing systems will remain and continue to power, as Kurt alluded to, behind the meter, directly feeding those schools.
So
There will be a new meter installed directly to the utility that will independently track the production in order to have the payments come in from Eversource based off of what's produced.
Yeah, custody transfer,
I have a question.
right from that panel to the grid.
Yes, correct. It's not going through the building. It would be in front of the meter-based application with a brand-new meter in order to track and provide those monetary credits.
Aren't some of these panels currently at the high school?
Correct, so if I could,
So-
Anthony.
Part of the program shows the area where those panels are at the high school.
There'll be more added.
To be
Now,
aware.
the other thing to keep in mind, which the pro forma does not take into account at Bungay School. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Anne Marie. I
I
apologize.
was gonna ask that question.
Hey, Anne Marie, do you have a question?
I don't really have to ask you if I can ask a question, understand that. Okay. So, at Bungie School, right, we know we're looking to rebuild the school, but we have solar panels there now, and it was gonna cost us money because of us putting the solar panels there. Can we reuse those panels there so that it's not gonna cost us the $1.2 million?
Yes, can you go to the next slide, and then
How
I'll come
old
back
are
to
the
the
panels?
schedule.
It's a different,
Under
it's a different conversation.
Under 20?
So we thought about that question. Down. There's gonna be
No,
a you and then one
there's
more
5
slide after
there.
that. There we go.
Yeah.
So, great question, for Selectwoman.
Thanks, I did come up with that.
We've got new
Carry on.
construction possibility, so we're depicting it as a potential canopy, but the intention would be to reutilize those existing solar panels as part of either a canopy or a portion of what that new build looks like. Effectively, the intent there would be to avoid any state penalty or clawback based off of the money and the grants that they provided as part of that initial solar. Moving the existing solar assets to a new location with the new build, so that the state doesn't push to claw back for some of the funds with those panels being, for lack of a better term, abandoned.
Good, so then we just saved $1.2 million for the school.
Who would pay for that though?
That
The
would
move.
also be included in the overall project. We're still at the,
So that's separate from the demolition and rebuild of Bungie School?
yes.
Because we were
that's
told
independent.
from a reimbursement point of view, we could not reuse the solar panels. But for this project, you're emphatically saying that that is possible to
Yes.
reuse them. Okay.
Is it because those panels will no longer power Bungie School, they'll be feed back to the grid?
That's part of it, yes. Effectively, because the school and the timing associated with the, potential closure and move of the school, reusing those panels avoids the state's programmatic way to claw back some of the funding that was already provided, since it is no longer going to be operated as a K through 12 school.
And so all of the solar panels at Bungie, I just want to make sure I know what I'm looking at, are canopies, none are on the building.
As part of this new proposal, correct. Canopy, and then I believe a ground mount was shown above as
Yep.
part of the project. Yep.
And the
Okay.
ones, yep.
I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a roof with a bunch of squares, so I
Yeah,
wanted
we
to
don't
make
want the
sure.
roof.
Yeah.
We don't
Those
want
are
the
the
roof, we
existing
want
panels
canopy.
that
Those are the ones that are
as
there.
part of the base plan.
The old
And they
ones.
would be repurposed or relocated either to the canopies as shown in this last slide, or if there's no potential for canopy as part of those locations, could be monetized and utilized as part of that ground mount.
How long do the panels last?
So the panels that we have historically used and would plan to provide here are Tier 1 solar panels.
Tier 1?
They come with a 25-year performance warranty.
So does performance go down over time?
It does. So generally,
So
we
the
see about-
panels that are existing wouldn't be the same producing as new panels?
Correct.
So that's not in this scenario, right?
It is, generally speaking. Again, we've got some additional due diligence that needs to be required, both from a technical, design, and engineering standpoint. But the intention, at least, is to have the MOU that was presented considered from the town of Seymour, so that effectively Johnson Controls has some protection to spend tens of thousands of dollars associated with engineering applications to the state, albeit preliminary, so that we can continue to hit the timeline milestones associated with the project.
What did he say,
And Phil, I'll translate that for you. But Phil, to answer your question, one of the things that Anne Marie challenged Johnson Controls with was solving the problem that we had at Bungay School.
Right.
Because the solar panels, for whatever reason, not pushing blame, but were not considered by the architect until the very end. The town was looking at somewhere between 1.1 and 1.2 million of an amortization repayment that we'd have to make to the state of Connecticut. So Anne Marie challenged Johnson Controls to say, okay, we have these solar panels. What can you guys do with them to try to solve this problem?
Okay.
So this is a solution outside of the project itself that they've come up with that is going to have us avoid having to make that 1.2 or $1.1 million payment back to the state.
Got it.
So is it going to be the same and as efficient as the new ones? No, it's not. But we're going to avoid that payment, and that is not included anywhere in the pro forma. So that's an additional 1.1 million of cost avoidance, let's say, that we don't have. Also, by reusing the panels, there's not going to be a debt call from Bank of America because the solar panels are still there.
But do we get these numbers of the 500,000 a year generated into the grid? Will that be consistent, even though they're a different age?
It'll be generally consistent if you take a look at the pro forma. We actually did carry a degradation year over year.
That was my question. How did you handle degradation in the pro forma? Like, how are you doing it?
Yeah, so as of right now, we're carrying, I
Yeah, but
believe,
is this-
0.7% per year degradation.
Okay, I can see it's cut off here. So that's the depreciation of 0.7%?
Yeah, degradation of 0.7% per year for the 20 years that we're represented in the pro forma.
Yes.
And like I said, probably my biggest concern, because this is all in one lump. It's 30 million all in one lump. They all go down. That means it's 36 million 20 years from now, 40 million that we have to take into consideration because it's all at once. It's not a phased approach. It's not like we can cycle over the course of that 20 years. Some come out, some come in. They're going to all go out at the same, or they're all going to start to deplete at the same time. So we're going to have to manage it that way.
Yes, I would also argue that you've got the infrastructure in place to be able to replace panels as needed in the future. So, for example, with a carport canopy, the steel structure, the purlins, the various different support members are going to last for more than 25 years.
Oh, yeah, I'm talking about the panels itself, right? I'm just talking about the replacement of panels. They're all going to fail around the same, or deplete all around the same time.
Sure. But with the infrastructure in place, and I don't know what the technology is going to be in 25 years, but I'm assuming that the solar technology and panel efficiency is going to be significantly greater in
Maybe.
25 years to be able to replace those assets and have another 25 plus years of production and savings at that point in time.
So, and with the savings, what I was thinking with this was to form a committee made up of Board of Ed members, made up of Board of Select persons, and maybe a finance person, put this committee together and look at how we can take that savings and put savings towards the panels that we're going to have to replace, but also take that money and put it towards the buildings that we have to repair, so it's not coming out of our budget. So when we have to repair the roof at the middle school, we have to repair the roof at Chatfield School, it's not coming out of the taxpayers' money, we're not taxing the taxpayers' money, it's coming out of this pool.
Yeah, we'd have to do it like that.
It's not even going into the budget, it won't even go into the budget, it goes into a separate line, hold on.
Separate
Yeah, it
line
should,
item.
but how would you want to do that if we have to hold the money to replace the panels?
Because the money would be coming out of this account to replace the panels, and that's how it's getting paid. So the taxpayers aren't gonna be feeling any bit of it. But like if we have to replace the pool at the high school, if we have to replace a gymnasium floor at Chatfield School, the money comes out of there. We already had Tim Connors make a chart of what needs to be done at the school, and I think the Board of Ed had also asked for that. And we know there's work that needs to be done at the schools, and we can only ask so much of our taxpayers, and that's where this money would come from, to start putting into our buildings. And that's how we start looking at it, and it's part of our strategic plan, really, is to start maintaining our building without taxing onto our residents. Because we have to look at this 20, 25, 30 years down the road. So as we're putting money away to pay for the solar panels, as we have to replace them, but we're also using money to redo things. Now, will it rebuild a new school? No. But it will also help with repairing buildings, the things that have to get done, so we don't have to go out for
High
bonding.
school needs
Yeah.
attention too.
The high school needs attention, you know?
Yeah.
We did the last, building on that 21, 2015, around the new extension, but the locker room needs to be done. We know that locker room, the state said that locker room in 2002
Years ago.
had to get done, and it wasn't done. Well, that's money that we can use a locker
So who
room.
puts this structure that you're talking about in place? This financial,
There would be
money
members of the
placement?
Board of Ed, because we have to ask the Board of Ed, because it is, there's, even though they're town-owned buildings, the Board of Ed are in charge of for all intents and purposes, they own the buildings. The town owns the buildings, but they run the buildings. So we'd want members of the Board of Ed on there, we'd want members of the Board of.
no, how do we put in place that,
You'd have to make a committee.
make a committee and figure out how to put the money in
And
where
then
and who
with the
can
Board
take
of
it out?
Finance, you
Well, I
want.
would think it'd be part of our strategic plan.
Yeah.
Right, it'll be a line item on the budget.
Yeah.
Budget.
No, it wouldn't be in the budget.
No.
Oh, that's right.
But think of it, if you remember, it could be like set up like an enterprise fund.
Enterprise.
Right.
Yeah,
That's what I
it'll be managed, so the revenue will come in, the expenses will all be paid out of the enterprise fund.
Correct.
So it will not be in the general fund. So it's not something that's gonna get washed away. This is
That's
now
right, it's
something
not.
that this
Right,
committee
we don't
can
want it to
actually
get
sit
folded
and
into
plan.
something else.
No.
Right.
But you can't have everything,
I think you're
you
talking
have to be specific enough to say, well, this comes up, well, we'll take it out of the solar fund or whatever you're gonna call it, right?
That solar fund can only be used to work on
Tom,
building.
It would have restrictions.
Okay, all right, so, okay. Now-
But you're talking about fidelity to a plan too, right? To make sure it doesn't fall off a cliff.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
And can we see how, I mean, an estimate on what, I know that we're saying some of the infrastructure will remain, but what we would estimate the cost of replacing all of those panels would be, and what we would need to probably put away year by year, so that we can understand what would be usable in
Yeah.
the schools.
Yeah, so I mean, we could have breakdowns associated with just panel replacement. There's also labor associated with that, which I necessarily can't just throw a swag at without going and checking with some of our installing
That would be
partners.
helpful, yeah.
But I would say roughly putting in a lot of the racking, putting in a lot of the structure, and the labor associated with the initial build is probably close to half of the actual cost of the arrays to begin with. So if you wanted to use, at least as we sit right now, and I'll validate this with the rest of the team, a rough estimate at prices today, right? And I don't know what they're going to be in 20 years. Solar's gone down significantly in terms of cost over the last 5 to 10 years. Is it going to keep going down, or is there going to be material issues associated with importing production or importing panels from overseas? I can't answer that question, but I'd say roughly half of the cost for removal of the old solar 20 years from now and replacement with new panels. Just to give you an idea.
To Bob's point, we gotta get a handle on that cost, the best ability in 2026.
I just want everybody to think you get all that money for free.
Nothing comes all that money.
Nothing for free.
Nothing's free.
So you need a motion to form a committee?
Maybe, Madam First Select Woman
Yes.
and ladies and gentlemen of the Board of Select Persons, maybe the next appropriate thing to do would be to authorize entering into the memorandum of understanding that is in your packet, a motion to authorize that. This is essentially a non-binding document, but it gives Johnson Controls, if you will, what I'll call project standing, to be able to go forward, putting together additional information, and to pursue, to help the town put together the application with Eversource for this particular project. This is not the terms of a business deal with Johnson Control. The business deal that Kurt outlined would be put together in more extensive documents down the road after we know that this could happen.
Do we not have to ask the Board of Ed because it's on their property before we do this?
But that's a question for me. Like, it says number 3, school solar projects where facilities owned or operated by the Seymour Board of Ed. To my knowledge, the Board of Ed doesn't own those buildings. They're operating those buildings and they're town buildings.
So, yeah, I mean, that's a distinction actually with a difference. The town does own all the buildings, but under a particular state statute, once they've been turned over to the board for school purposes, they are the board's responsibility, and the board has effective control.
Well, but it's or operated,
Yeah.
right? So they would be considered operated.
I'm just curious about that language, Rich. Why does it say owned or operated? Which one is it in Seymour? They
Well,
operate.
Seymour, as far as I know, the Board of Ed doesn't own any of the
That's
school
what I mean.
buildings.
Right, so it's or
That's my
operated,
point.
right?
So, yeah.
So I would take out owned or.
Or
Make sure it's
facilities
clear.
Operated by the Seymour. Pretty
The town owns those
definitive,
buildings.
right?
You could do that if you want. I mean, you could drop the word owned. I mean,
Yeah, we don't have an issue with that.
No. no, you wouldn't have any. No, on that. So you could delete that if you want.
I mean, that would be my vote. That doesn't make any sense to me, because they don't own anything. Maybe the property inside, perhaps.
But this would
This is
allow,
pretty simple.
this would allow Johnson Controls to go forward. You don't have to take the next step. You're not obligated to take the next step. Johnson, as I read this document, you would agree with that, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what happens is this is a preliminary document. You would have to work out exactly what's going to happen internally with the Board of Education and the town. So we know how this is going to be handled on a go-forward basis. But I think you're the appropriate party to move forward at this time, but it could be helpful for the Board of Ed to enter into this as well. And if you see the way this document was set up by Johnson Control, they did add the Seymour Board of Education.
We did.
What is this board's pleasure?
Well, I would think the Board of Ed would want to be at the table.
Well, the first sentence states that it's going to be between the town of Seymour and Johnson Controls.
Well, this memorandum of understanding.
Right.
So
Right.
at the NRES
So that's-
program, is that, because now you bring that up, is that with the town, the education, or is it with the
Well, it's
town?
both. It's both. I mean, if, huh? Well,
I
don't
believe
know.
it's with the town, just based off of some other municipalities
It is,
that we've
okay,
worked with.
that's, yeah, I can't,
Based off of the site control and the deed being under the town of Seymour.
Oh,
but
the
it's,
Board
but
of
it's
Ed
in the
can't hold money.
schools.
But what were you going to say, Rich?
well, I was going to say, but I'm not talking about the overall project and how this is going to be structured and where the money's going to go and who's going to get it and how it's going to be spent and things like that
This
over
is
the
the
next 20
MOU.
years. I'm talking about, this is a preliminary document to get Johnson Control started. When the agreement, whoever drafted this, when they started it, it was between the town and JCI. And then you get into the document some, and now we're talking about the owned or operated section, section 3.
Yeah.
Then you go to the next page,
It's town of Seymour and or Board of Education as
And or-
applicable.
as applicable, right?
Yeah.
Because the board certainly has a substantial role in this, because these buildings have been turned over to the board for school
Correct.
purposes under the statute.
Right.
And then you have, Johnson recognizes this, I believe, because they have Town of Seymour, and then they have Seymour Board of Ed, if applicable. So, I mean, it would be my recommendation, if you want to, tonight, if you want to try to push this thing forward, you could move to authorize the first selectwoman to enter into this non-binding memorandum of understanding on behalf of the town of Seymour, and furthermore, to require the approval of the Seymour Board of Education. You could do that if you want.
I think things work better when there's a partnership. and there's an understanding, even though we know it's a Seymour, it's a town of Seymour, but, we learned with the last JCI issue, that without any paperwork and without an understanding from both sides, there are issues.
And I don't see what the rush is.
Well, I was getting
we'll be
at-
meeting again soon.
So we just had some contradictory language in the document, and that's what I was saying. I would think they'd want to be at the table, but I wasn't sure whether this would be exclusively a Town of Seymour and Johnson Controls contract, but there's contradictory language throughout the thing, Rich.
Yeah,
Like
that's my point.
in 6,
Yeah.
it says either party. Well, there's not either party, we'd have 3 parties.
So-
So I would just want it to read clearly and get a little tidied up, if we're gonna have 3.
You want me to redraft it?
Could
I'm
you
happy
please?
to do that.
I would ask you to,
I'm
yeah.
happy
That's
to
my
do it.
request.
I'll redraft this and you could act on it at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask if there's any
Tighten it up.
time constraints that we're working towards.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, I see that, yeah, but you put those dates in there.
Yes,
Right.
and there's.
For reason or
yes,
because?
I think there's reasons for it. So we're at the first step today, right, on the 17th.
Yeah.
The intention is to move forward expeditiously with the MOU. Johnson Controls is going to need to put together an interconnection application with the utility. That process generally takes several weeks in order for us to get all the information put together, submitted to the utility, and the utility roughly takes 60 business days in order to review and approve those interconnects. We're targeting having financing in place in May as part of the $7 to $8 million of federal direct pay subsidy. That would only come into play if we can start construction before July 3rd of this year. The other caveat is we finish and have a fully performing system in 2027 by December. That puts a lot of pressure on the utility for them to actually energize the systems. I don't know about you, but I've never seen a utility actually work in a manner that's expeditious across the board. So the target would be to start construction before July 3rd of this year in order to solidify the $7 to $8 million of federal direct pay subsidy that was not shown in the pro forma but would be available to the town of Seymour.
So
Bungay
that's the
School has-
pre-application checklist, so that
Right.
you have to do the structural
Correct.
attestation
School has-
and all that.
Along with
right?
a fully approved interconnection application before that gets submitted to the NRES.
Proof of site control,
Yes.
But Bungay School hasn't even been built yet.
but you, well, you don't need the
Bungay School hasn't been built yet.
Yeah, but
What would
the panels are gonna go in the parking lot.
But you
Yeah,
can't
but-
put them in the parking lot until the building is
Parking
built.
lot's not
No,
gonna
no,
be
no.
ready till.
Chicken
the
or the
existing
egg?
parking lot,
Which one do we
right?
want?
No,
no, I think they were.
no, not the
Yeah,
existing.
so we have ground mount as part of the one Bungay, and then the relocation of the existing panels to.
But we don't know where the school is
gonna
actually
move.
gonna go yet.
Is there any consideration for environmental impact with the, I guarantee you that there's gonna be uproar about the trees coming down.
Yeah.
There's gonna be huge uproar. Is there going to be any is there any what if we, you have them on a picture, what if you get some kind of, ancient Indian
Invasive.
burial ground, per se, coming up?
Phil,
Yeah,
Why would you say that,
Look
Phil?
at me.
Has that come up before?
Phil,
just,
there's no ancient Indian burial ground on our schools, Phil.
I understand that, but what, are there any impact
Don't put it out.
I'll be
considerations on
calling
Don't put
the
it
state
out there, Phil.
archaeologist
Don't put
again.
it out there.
Short answer is yes, for any of the ground mount solar, specifically also any solar over 1 megawatt. There would be a requirement to go through the Connecticut Siting Council to address any of those.
Okay, so hearing the pressure I'm getting to my colleagues, I will accept the answer yes and end it there.
We're gonna find one now.
I'm gonna go to like the Halloween store and find a
So
skeleton.
if you're
and just put it
saying,
in the ground.
this isn't directed at you necessarily, but if you're here tonight saying there's pressure for us to like do this tonight, like I'm just not ready to do that. You should have, like whether that's like you coming to the board now or like someone at the town saying we won't be ready for you until tonight, like I don't like the pressure tactic, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I'm gonna need this signed so I can start the work, cause we've got these deadlines. Well, then I'm thinking, not my problem, you should have come a meeting or two ago so that if something like this came up, like we've got this contingency to be able to get the information or changes we need.
I completely understand, and I don't think the intention is to put pressure on moving forward, but simply to demonstrate the need for and the value that moving forward can potentially supplement and provide to the town of Seymour.
And may I just go back and focus you on something you said that I think I understand? Tell the board, if you will, the significance of the July 3rd date. July 3rd.
Yeah, so start of construction on or before July 3rd allows you to basically deem start of construction based off of the federal guidelines with regards to the IRA. As long as start of construction is complete, and start of construction can mean physical work or it can mean procurement of 5% or more of the materials. So no necessary work on site needs to be done, but procurement of 5% of the materials on or before July 3rd deems you as having started construction and allows you to finish, whether it's 18 months, 2 years, but no longer be held by the utility to have a in-service date of December of 2027. That's huge because it provides flexibility and takes things out of the utility's hands with regards to potential delays and allowing Seymour to capture that $7 to $8 million.
From the federal
That's-
government you
From the
alluded to.
federal
Yeah.
That's the point I wanted you to hear.
I heard the
If
7 million.
we
we're
don't
trying to
hit
get
it
that.
by July 3rd, if this doesn't happen by July 3rd, as I understand what you said, we, along with many other projects all over the United States, are in jeopardy of not being able to claim those federal dollars.
We'll redrafting this memorandum of understanding in a 2-week time frame into the July
Well,
3rd.
Let me just say this, because I can only speak to the Board of Select persons, right? I can redraft this in no time. But this is a very preliminary document. If you're going to ask the Board of Ed to be a party to this preliminary document, then you're also going to need the approval of the Board of Ed. And I don't know when your next meeting is, and I don't know if this topic has
Well,
been
I'm on the
introduced.
Eversource website, and it says the tariff agreement customer, this is at Eversource, this is the NRES solar program, must be the public school entity, Board of Education, or the municipality.
Or.
So it's an either
So it
or.
can be
So what I could do is take the Board of Ed out of this particular preliminary document so they can make their application. The town could vote to go forward on this non-binding
The MOU.
preliminary
MOU,
document.
right.
Just the town, as long as these folks over here are okay with me deleting the Board of Ed portion of this. Okay, where it refers to the Board of Education
For
down
this
here.
particular document, it wouldn't matter.
It shouldn't
Just to get-
No.
It
This
shouldn't
is to
matter.
get the
We're
ball-
still gonna have the
this is
Board of
just
Ed
to-
collaborating, like Anne Marie
Right,
said.
yeah, exactly.
Well, you-
And this is just to get the
And that
application
you,
going.
Yeah.
believe me,
Just to get an understanding, right? It's so,
there are folks who were here the last time around.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So once this non-binding agreement is signed, what is the next steps to determine if we do or do not move forward?
They're right over here. No, I was gonna ask Chris, but what's the next steps?
Yeah, so ultimately, as I was alluding to, we would need to provide some technical support in order to submit for the interconnects, get those approved so that we have the capability of submitting a K through 12 NRES application for the locations on the school. Supplementally, we would look to move forward, put together some additional detail, collaborate with the town and the schools in Seymour to ensure that the locations are appropriate. I know that it seems like there was some concerns associated with various different arrays as originally proposed. That was, an indicative thought process at this point, but is open to collaboration. Upon, I guess, approval of location, size, and those various steps, we would look to move forward with a more formal contract with the town of Seymour, which allows us to potentially procure those panels, those materials, in order to meet the July 3rd start of construction date to save the town of Seymour that $7 to $8 million of federal direct pay subsidy on top of the pro forma that
They would have to do construction studies on the buildings, they'd have to submit like interconnection, how they would hit it back onto the grid, controls, all the site controls. And that
as
all has
well
to
as
be done
prepare all the
prior
documentation for state grant approvals.
For the grant, for the approval.
If I could, through you, just, so I'm not speaking for the Board of Ed at all, but this was on a previous agenda, and the board collectively said that this needs to start with you all. But please, I can't call out the meeting agenda or notes, but the board has been aware of this, and we knew it started with you.
Well, that's helpful.
That is very
Because you
helpful.
want everybody to be on the same page here. and
Absolutely,
if that's
has to
how the board looked at it, then we could revise this somewhat, and move forward.
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
So motion would be to authorize the memorandum of understanding, is that what?
To have
What
town
you
council,
can do is to authorize the first select woman to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Johnson Controls, Inc., subject to, review and approval by town council.
Okay.
You can do that.
I make
Motion
that,
by
make that
Phil.
motion.
But this isn't approving the project itself.
No, it is not.
Trish,
Okay.
not at all.
Who seconded it? I'm sorry.
Second.
Bob and then Scott.
Motion by Bob, second by Scott. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 7-0. Again, this is just for the motion MOU. This is not approving the product, this is just a memorandum of understanding.
I'll be making the revisions. If you can send this to me in Word, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll take care of that either later tonight or first thing in the morning.
You have it?
This has been a tough
Thank you.
night.
It's 2 weeks in a row.
It's tough last week.
Good.
It's all Phil's.
Carol, it's your fault.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Close to my top memory. That's by now.
You guys should be retired like me.
This is just like your,
Want to get hit?
I don't have to get up for school tomorrow.
All right. Discussion and possible action regarding the potential sale. Is no one listening to me? Nope. Sorry.
What do you have?
Okay.
Okay. Discussion and possible action regarding the potential lien sale for the WPCA. As you know, and that's not funny, as you know, this came to us last month. Nope, beginning of this month. Thank you. And we said, hey, you know, we understand the WPCA, Bob, you sit on the WPCA board, and we said, hey, we know that this has been going on and on and on. However, it may not, let's give those let's give the residents a chance that have the liens against their house for the WPCA. One more chance, send out the letter. While the letter has gone out, we can start going for an RFQ to look for the lien sale, and that they have to pay the WPCA, which this board has no control over and the town has no control over, by March 31st. Because on April 1st, the liens are gonna be sold. Now, they've been told over and over and over again that this is gonna have been happening, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so now we said we're gonna give it one last shot to make sure that people who've paid their liens do not get their liens sold. So this is the resolution providing for the assignment of Seymour Water Pollution Control Authority liens. Whereas the town of Seymour, the town, budgets for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2026, provides for the collection of delinquent taxes, and whereas pursuant to, in accordance with Section 22A 506 small b of the Connecticut General State Statutes, any unpaid assessments and any interest due to the town of Seymour Water Pollution Control Authority, the WPCA, thereon shall constitute a lien upon the real estate, the WPCA lien, against which the assessment was levied from the date of such levy, and whereas such WPCA liens shall take precedence over all other liens and encumbrance except taxes, and may be enforced in accordance with subdivision 2 of the Connecticut General State Statutes 22A 506 small b, in the same manner as property tax liens. And whereas, in accordance with the Connecticut General State Statutes, Section 22A 506, small b, 2, in the case of one or more WPCA liens for any unpaid assessment of any interest due thereon, as described in subdivision 1 of this subsection, section 22A 506, small b, upon any owner-occupied real estate, no such lien or liens may be foreclosed unless the principal for all such liens upon such owner-occupied real estate exceeds $3,000 or 3 years have elapsed from the date of any such WPCA lien was filed and such liens remain unpaid, and whereas, except for as provided by the Connecticut General State Statute 22A 506, small b, 2, any municipality, by resolution of its legislative body, may assign for the consideration any and all liens filed by the tax collector to secure unpaid sewer assessments as provided under the provision of Chapter 446, small k, of the Connecticut General State Statutes, and consideration received by the municipality shall be negotiated between the municipality and the assignee. And whereas, in the case of one or more WPCA liens filed by the Town of Seymour tax collector to secure unpaid assessment upon any owner-occupied real estate, no such WPCA lien or WPCA liens may be assigned unless the principal for all such liens upon such owner-occupied real estate exceeds $3,000 or 3 years have elapsed from the date of any such WPCA lien was filed, and such lien remains unpaid, except such restriction shall not apply if a tax or other municipal lien upon such real estate is also assigned. And whereas pursuant to section 12-195, small h of the Connecticut General State Statute, tax collector of the town intends to assign WPCA liens for the purpose of raising much-needed revenue for the town. Now therefore be resolved as follows. Pursuant to, in accordance with the provisions or requirements of section 12-195, small h of the Connecticut General State Statutes and section 2, small a, 506, small b, ETSEQ of the Connecticut General Statutes, the tax collector of the town of Seymour is hereby authorized to assign the WPCA liens in exchange for consideration. However, the tax collector doesn't collect the WPCA liens. The WPCA, too many acronyms, collects the fees.
I think it has to flow through the tax collector per the statute,
I,
right, Rich?
I think that is the safest and best way to handle a potential sale of liens, yes. And not only that, the companies that are used to buying liens are used to seeing an assignment executed by a tax collector.
Okay, just check.
Good question.
I had to ask that question though,
Yes.
because we get accused of a lot of things at town hall. And I just want to make sure.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution providing for the assignment of Seymour Water Pollution Control Authority liens.
I'll second it.
Motion by Al, second by Kurt.
Kurt, Bob,
Bob,
Scott,
sorry.
Bob.
Been a long night.
Yeah, long night.
All night.
I have one quick question. I know we discussed last time that there was,
Your discussion, Phil, so let's talk. Let's get the questions out.
so, how's it going? No. Anyway, the liens would be starting at people that are $3,000 in the year
Or more.
or more?
3 years or $3,000, yes.
Behind 3 years or $3,000 or more, right?
Yes.
We sent a letter out for the WPCA, right?
The WPCA
Yeah.
has sent letters out.
Yep,
Okay.
okay.
We talked about that.
Thank
Trish,
you.
Trish
So
brought it up. We
so I
agreed,
got-
and that's it.
Pardon me, Madam President, did you go through the timeline? No,
Actually,
it's not in the.
The timeline was yes, I believe I
Yes,
did,
you
but,
did.
but
You
I'll
did.
do it again if you want, if
No,
you want
she
to go for
did.
36 hours.
You did, Kurt.
Yeah, actually, I stepped away. I missed this. Can you read it? That-
You know what? I actually thought you were serious for a second. I was like, no. Killing me.
Motion
In a second.
and a second, discussion,
Finished it?
all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 7-0, okay. Updates on the ordinance subcommittee, we tabled the senior citizens tax incentive, noise, we aren't really gonna touch, that's the police, the disabled veterans exemption, we move that forward to this board, in the committee, and, We need a motion for approval for this, for the disabled veterans.
No,
No.
You're on.
Under the charter, we need to let that sit a little bit, because the Board
Oh,
of
we just had a
Select
public
Persons
hearing.
should hold a public hearing. And then after the public hearing, you can vote on that.
So when do we want to go for, we have to make a public hearing.
We'll do the public hearing on March 17th.
St. Patrick's Day? I'm not even
What have you
Irish.
seen me here?
Well,
I'm Irish.
Are we meeting on St. Patrick's Day? Mr.
Yeah, we have a meeting. that
listen,
night.
I would generally say no because that is a high holy day, but I'll be making less sense that day than I am today.
Why are we setting another public hearing?
Let's just do it on the 17th.
I mean, you don't know what I'm going to
It's
say.
getting late.
Positive thing.
All right, March 17th.
Would you like to hold a special meeting?
Yes,
Oh, God.
let's do it on March 18th. No,
I will look for a date
let's look for a date, and then we'll set it on March 3rd.
for the entire Board of Select Persons meeting on the 17th.
Yes, we will not have the meeting on the 17th for those that may be wanting to celebrate that day. It will not be I, but okay.
I'm Irish.
I
It
was
will
hoping
not
to
be.
celebrate here, but okay, got nothing else to do.
Phil, you're
I'm
driving.
retired, you can celebrate any day, Phil.
Phil, you're driving.
Yes, I am. That's right.
The attendance will be low that
Phil's our
day.
driver.
All right, firefighters,
Tabled.
we tabled that, and sidewalks we didn't talk about. So item number 15, public comment. Is there any public comment? Name and address for the record, please.
Cindy Dion, 18 Carriage Drive, Seymour, Connecticut. So yes, I went down the rabbit hole today on Facebook. And I tried to,
Clarify.
Clarify.
I thought you did a good job.
I tried.
I was not.
I did not engage with the scammers. I tried. I would hope that that would move forward more than the solar thing. But I just wanted to, put out there that growing up as a state trooper's daughter who lived down the street from a dark station, it wasn't always dark. It wasn't dark, is what I'm trying to say. There were people in the building, and I think that really needs to be noted because some people really thought that Seymour Police Department was shutting down and we were going to Waterbury.
Well, they misrepresented it on that initial post.
Yes.
Just how they just started it. And I know
Yeah.
you started to try and clarify it.
And I'm like that's
saw
just
that.
a stir of the pot post.
Well, dark
But-
station is such a bad term.
It is a
That's
bad
what
term,
it's called.
but coming from someone who lived right down the street from one, there's always someone there. So I would hope that would get passed because I think it's important to take out from what is going on right now and move it to a better place. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Any other public?
Super quick, Kristen Harmeling, 134 Davis Road. I did check a few minutes going back to, I think, October. I don't see a official board conversation about the solar project, but if anybody gets upset that you guys went ahead with an MOU, I'll take the hit. Because we absolutely talked about it and the consensus was, it starts with you all, so. But thank you for that discussion tonight.
Thank you. Select persons, public comment. Scott? You're welcome, Bree.
Thank you.
Are you starting with me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Again? I read in the Voices newspaper this week that the Board of Education has approved naming the basketball courts at the middle school after one of their students that's passed last year. And, no? I'm reading it right now.
No, the Voices is not correct. We absolutely respect the process, and it was known and spoken about by the principal at the middle school as well as the Board of Education, that there is a existing policy that comes through you all for naming parts of school grounds and buildings. All the board voted on was to say, go ahead and pursue the process.
Huh. And I was going to give you guys kudos for that. I thought it was a great idea.
So if I could,
Or you'll get your chance.
actually, sorry. Actually, no. Any Board of Education building the Board of Ed can name. They're,
Outside.
oh, it's outside, okay.
Basketball court.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
I apologize. Okay.
I'm gonna stop now because obviously I don't.
Never stop, just slow down.
No, just the opposite. I thought it was fantastic that they took the steps to do that.
Almost.
Okay.
I'm not talking anymore. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Tag.
No, I was actually gonna bring up Cindy, the social media post on about that today. I just want people to understand, you know, when these posts are posted, I'd rather, I respect that you tried to solve, you know, kind of correct it, but people have to really go to the website, see what we say, what we really say, watch the meetings, because you get the facts versus what was posted and what that turned into. Because it starts to create a rumbling and everybody gets the wrong impression. I was getting phone calls about some of that too, and I'm saying, well, you don't know the whole, you know, you're following the wrong. You got to go to the website, go watch the recording of what was really said, and understand what that all was about. So.
My turn.
Yes, ma'am.
So for the record, we had a really great support for the new Bungie School, and I want the public to understand that our school system still needs the support for a budget that will support the children and their education. So I am in support of the Board of Education budget to help the children grow and so that we can bring a good education system to the children and not always keep a status quo, because as Ms. Harmeline had alluded to, or flat out stated, the teachers are allowed to and contractually required to receive their increases every year, along with health insurance and so forth. So a complete flat budget is just not sustainable. And that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you. Al?
Yeah, that's a great point, Trish. Just like to piggyback on that. Our Board of Ed has done a great job in negotiating those contracts too, and putting the kids' best interests forward as well as the districts. All right. Other area towns have not done such a good job, and we're probably going to pay for that in the future because unions use similarly situated towns. What went on in Derby with the teachers' contract, it's just ridiculously high, quite honestly. But we're gonna face that later. But our town has done a good job with that, our board. So kudos to them for that work, that hard work. And other than that, I think the snow brigade has been out shoveling and taking care of our seniors. It's just a great thing to have in town. Those kids are doing great work. I'd like to recognize them at a future meeting if we could, Anne-Marie, when the spring comes. I think we may have mentioned that before, but I think that's a great idea. When I mention that to folks in other towns, they're pretty jealous, and they want to have their high schoolers do the same thing and get out there and help others in the community.
So on that one, we were supposed to honor them, but they both had swim meets, and we're trying to wait until after their swim season is done. to
Yeah,
honor them.
I think
Let's
they want to
wait
do it
until the
later.
snow brigade doesn't need to happen anymore
Yeah.
this year.
Let's
Yeah.
blizzard this
Figure
weekend,
it
and then we'll honor them. Do it next year.
Well, they
too.
got to recruit new kids, right? Their seniors gone. Oh my God,
Don't honor them
the
too
snow,
much.
the
before
snow
next
Grinch
year.
over there. So anyway, but that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Philip?
Well, where do I begin? No, I think that I'm very optimistic the way the meetings are running, and I think that everything is, and Kurt's tapping his watch, so got the message. I'll tidy it up. Thank you very much for the opportunities, and here we go.
Agree?
Make it nice and long. Thank you, appreciate that. No, I think I just want to echo what a lot of the members here have said. You know, it's important to get the information at the source. And you know, I've been here only a few weeks, but we don't see many people, you know, online or in the room, and especially now that the Board of Finance is holding all of their meetings, you know, come out, listen to what's being said, understand, ask questions, and And that way we can kind of move forward together with a source of truth. And I think that's important instead of kind of in this Facebook echo chamber where we, can sometimes spiral. Come out and ask questions. And I think everyone here and everyone on the Board of Finance is happy to answer those questions. And then, we can come to an agreement and move forward. So.
Thank you. Okay, now for mine. So this last week, we honored our school resource officer and our SSOs. Without, our school resource officers, our safety school officers, they do a great deal of work in our schools, so we wanted to recognize them. The police department has 2 officers that will be graduating in March, and then the next one will be graduating in May and June, and the last one comes in July, and then they're 12 weeks before they're on their own. We had the Valley Pharmacy grand opening today in the Seabridge Plaza, and there is, the truth is on Facebook. Believe it or not, the Dunkin' Donuts in Henny Penny is opening, and apparently that Dunkin' Donuts has been in the works since Henny Penny was put in. They had planned on putting a Dunkin' Donuts there. The owners just decided now was a good time to do it. I had the opportunity last week to be a key speaker at the CCM convention. And I emphasized the need for more funding for our schools. It is amazing that the state of Connecticut has not increased the funding to come up with not the resource, well, the money. They have the money, they're just not keeping up with when our taxes go up, when our cost of living goes up, the cost of living. They have the money there, they have the formula is there, the formula works, they're just not putting the funding into it. This was the biggest year that we've had the revenue, highest revenue. And I think with the money that they have, not only could they put the proper amount into for our education, but they could also put it towards a public benefit for Eversource as well, and still have plenty of money left over. But that's just my thoughts. Like I said, they had the biggest fund balance in the state history. So I think to fund our schools, and it's not just Seymour that's not getting the money, or Derby, or Ansonia. It is every municipality in the state of Connecticut that's not getting the money. So I had the opportunity to speak up there. And like Bree said, it is budget season. We have our workshops Monday and Wednesday. Hardly anybody shows up. The next one is tomorrow. The town clerk, the tax collector, the assessor, the library, the fire department, the communications and emergency management will be presenting their budget. I will be presenting on March 3rd. I really hope that people, as vocal as they are on Facebook, come out and be vocal at the meetings. And as far as the social media posts, I have a rule that I'll post something on my page, and my page is what I have to say. I will not engage with somebody with a fake profile, somebody who has a no picture. I just won't do it. I won't go down that road. If I have something to say, I'm going to say it. Unless they specifically ask me, I'm not going to acknowledge it, because you go down to that dark web, that spiral, and no matter what you say, they take it and they misconstrue it. So unless you can present to me with facts, like Ms. Dion was the other night, presenting with facts, and here it is and how it is, and they still misconstrued everything she said. So it's not that I don't want to give my opinion. I gave my opinion. I gave my opinion tonight, right? And I will give my opinion and my thoughts, and I will do what's right for the town of Seymour, but I will not engage with fake profiles. And with that, I say good night.
Can't go another couple of minutes? Can't you read those documents?